Hi there VC, Steve Whitty here, time for another video. This video is going to be a recent listens video, and it's for the first week of July, so it's from Sunday the 2nd to Saturday the 8th. What albums I've been listening to, or what vinyl I've been playing. So I hope everyone is well and is in good health. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, thank you. A bit more positive since I started back doing the videos. But anywho, that's enough about me. Let's talk about the music. I spun eight vinyl records during that week. So I'm going to start talking about them. First one, PJ Harvey, Rid of Me. I think it came out in 1993. This is the album that introduced me to PJ Harvey, and I remember buying the CD. It got to be 94. I brought the CD, and that was partly because I'd read an article in Q magazine that had featured both PJ Harvey and Bjork on the cover, and I was just knocked back by just the power of the record. I honestly, lyrically, there's a lot of reference to sex. I think Elvis Costello referred to her as the writer of songs of blood and fucking. But no, it's still my go-to album actually for PJ Harvey. I still haven't got her new album yet, but looking forward to this. But I've been having a bit of a kick on just discovering our old stuff. So yeah, really pleased. Really good listen. It's a really good album. Yuri G. The opening track is really good. What else she's got on there? Man Sized Sextet. It's you get what it's on about, but I think it's just a strong album. It's the last album where it was just her with the as a trio. Obviously, when it came to the next album, she expanded her sound, and that's probably one of the appeals of PJ Harvey, is the fact that she's always one of these artists that's always when she does a new record, looks to do something that little bit different to the previous record. Keeps it interesting, and for the fan, it keeps it interesting for them as well. I'm seriously thinking about exploring getting some of the demos, because they're coming down in price as cheap. I suppose trying to get rid of the stock. So yeah, I do enjoy listening to PJ Harvey. It was a bit of a kick on her. I'm not much of a jazzer, but I did spin this, The Real McCoy, by McCoy Tyner. It's one of these jazz albums that is supposed to be on the list of greatest jazz albums of all time. So I saw it in the shop months ago, and it was only about a tenner, and I thought I'd take it. It's not one of these Tone Poet reissues. This is one in the UK a few years ago. There was a series called Jazz Greats, and it was issued by D'Agostini. So basically, they just it's one of these bit part companions. You build up a collection. So the album, and there was a little magazine, a bit like my Beatles collection I did a few years ago. I think there's that little thing to indicate it's D'Agostini. However, the pressings are good. This is a good pressing. Not that I'm really an expert on it. But it's a cool listen. I do enjoy it, and jazz now and again I can do it. I don't mind listening to. It was pleasant Sunday morning listening. That's where I find I appreciate jazz more. So it's just one of those things to enjoy. I do mean to start exploring more jazz, but it's knowing where to start. And I think the only way I can go is with the so-called classics. I've got a book somewhere about the 100 greatest jazz albums. So if I use that as a bit of a guide, it might help me. It might help me appreciate jazz more. Though I could never do free jazz. Sorry. Let's have a bit of coffee. changing tact, a bit of akadaka, as the Aussies say, AC/DC. I listened to Blow Up Your Video. Probably not the most obvious album to listen to. It's an album I do enjoy. I think when it came out on the back of Fly on the Wall, which was a bit of a stinker an album for them. This sort of reverts more back to type, and that, ironically, considering it's Blow Up Your Video, it's a standard rock video, and MTV. It's the videos that I do remember the album, sort of the two lead singles, Heat Seeker and That's the Way I Want to Rock and Roll. Yeah, great tracks. I mean, it'll never be up there as one of the great AC/DC albums, but there are some really good tracks. Kissing Dynamite's one of the favourite on here. And I think it was a return to form. It would be the last album that features Simon Wright on drums. And he left, and by the time he got round to doing Razor's Edge, Chris Slade had joined the band. But yeah, this was, I would say, a return to form for AC/DC. And I don't mind listening to them. They were one of my favourite bands. Everyone knows Back in Black's my favourite album of all time. So yeah, just listening to this, and it just strips away all, strips away the cobwebs, and sometimes you need the cobwebs blown off you. More on the classic rock vein, Van Halen, 1984, came out in 1983. Of course, the last album to feature David Lee Roth at the time. And this was sort of like, in the UK, it was a bit of a breakthrough for them. Jump was a big hit. It was a hit single. It was the biggest single they ever had in the UK. And you could see why. Eddie Van Halen had just discovered the synthesizer. So while not playing, they get overplayed on the album, on the record, they're quite obvious on there. Jump being the perfect example. It's radio friendly. You can see why it was a big hit single and why everyone enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite Van Halen albums. I've got all of the early stuff. It's got Hot for Teacher, Panama. Just staple Van Halen rockers. I mean, Hot for Teacher. It's something about it. I really, really like that. I think there's always that tongue in cheek with David Lee Roth. You didn't know whether to take him seriously or not. And then I think they toured. They played the Monsters of Rock in '84 on the back of this, and then obviously David Lee Roth left the band, and I think there's a lot of bad blood that boiled over, and then Sammy Hagar joined the band, and in a way that starts the next phase of Van Halen. In a sense, becomes a different band. It's up there, one of my favourites. It's always good to listen now and again of that. I do like a good comp, and this is a good compilation album. It's called All Good Clean Fun, and it came out in 1971 on United Artists label. And there was these comps used to come out, and used to be like at a reduced price because records are so expensive, and it was a good way for the record companies to sort of like push acts on the label. So you've got on here Gypsy, Groundhog, Sugarloaf, Canned Heat, Man, Brinsley Schwartz, Help Yourself, Sweet Pain, Hawkwind, Ernie Graham, Eric Burden and War, If, Colin Scott, Cochise, John Lee Hooker and Cantique, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Reg King, Morning, BB Blunder, Alan Taylor and Amon Dur 2. A varied selection of acts, and it's a varied selection of music, which what makes these comps so good. It's enjoyable. It was enjoyable. Listen, I hadn't listened to this. I think I brought this during lockdown. Pete did one of his online crate digs, and it sort of like that appealed to me, and he did sell it well, because some of these comps can be expensive. Yeah, it was good good listen. I enjoyed listening to it. I have a soft spot for 70s rock. It's probably where my heart. If you were to pin me down and say which sort of era and genre you'd listen to most, it would be that, and that ticks all the boxes for me. Moving on a decade, Thomas Dolby, The Flat Earth. I haven't listened to this in a long time. I haven't listened to Thomas Dolby in a very long time. Came out, I think, 84. Well-known track on this, the closing track on the album, Hyperactive, which was a hit single in the UK. This came on the back. He'd had success in America with She Blinded Me with Science, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of the previous album, and I've got it somewhere, which is embarrassing. And it's very much sort of like 80s synth. I wouldn't say pop. It's synth-based music. I would never class Thomas Dolby as a pop act. He did have like pop-sounding singles, but there's a lot to experiment. He did start out as very experimental. He had a minor hit single, Wind Power, and that was really experimental. But he got known for playing and adding synthesizers on. He played keyboards with Lane Lovitch, and then he played on Foreigner 4, sort of like to help fund his solo career, get signed. Then he has the big hit in America. I think the helps there as well. This is a good album, and I promise I won't leave it so long to the next next play it. Thomas Dolby, I think he sort of disappears. I think he does more soundtracks than anything now. But this is a really good album. It covers the pop bass, but it also covers the experimental electronic as well. And if you're into either of that, this album should please you. Next up, Bruford, One of a Kind. Bill Bruford's sort of album. I think this came out in 79. At this point, he'd left UK, the band he founded, and went solo. And this is very much jazz fusion. I think he features on here Alan Holdsworth on guitar, Dave Stewart on keyboards, and Jeff Berlin on bass. So it's cream of musicianship. It's, again, I mentioned about McCoy Tyner. I'm not really into jazz. If there's anything, it's jazz fusion I do like, because there's an element of rock in there for me that keeps my attention. And this just, as I say, ticks the boxes for me. I do enjoy it. The album is well beat up. The cover's in bits, actually. It's split. It's totally split apart. I'm grateful for these cases, but I enjoyed listening to this. I think the one of the kind and the Sahara Snow. They're my top tracks on this album. They split into two parts. I think at that point, Bill Bruford had that freedom to do what he wanted to do. He had enough kudos on Polydor, and I think that's because King Crimson were on Polydor as well at that time when he left. Then obviously a couple of years later, King Crimson came back, so he put Bruford on hold. But as I say, the musicianship is top notch. You can't get any much better than having Alan Holdsworth on guitar or Dave Stewart on keyboards. So yeah, really really good album. If you see a copy, I'd certainly pick it up. You find it. I was fortunate to find it in the cheap bins. Okay, the final record I'm going to show you. This is John Mayall, and this is Diary of a Band, Volume 2. These are both albums, essentially live recordings from 1967. There is very much, it's on Decca Mono. There's something very amateurish about the recording of this. they're not quite like that live albums you get now. And it's very much sort of like done in a club, and you know, you hear it, and it's, I mean, the musicianship's good. He's got Keith Hartley on drums. This is before he left. I'm trying to think who else is on there. You know, and we're talking about universities and clubs and ballrooms. You know, the first track is recorded on the Southampton Top Rank Ballroom, and London Speakeasy is one of the tracks on there, and it's good. It's good blues playing. The musicians on here really stonky, but I just can't left feeling this is, you know, if they really wanted to, they could really. This is an album that could do with a sort of like a remastering, so to speak. But hey, some people, most John Mayall fans would probably like it like this. I just found it a little bit amateurish. Maybe if I brought it in 1967, whatever it came out, 68, I probably appreciated it more. But coming to it a lot later, I found that difficult. Listen, I ain't getting rid of it, mind, because I've got Volume 1 as well. Because it's a period, it's sort of artifact of a period in time. So yeah. So there you go, VC. Those were what I listened to. Didn't listen to many. I do switch it around between streaming and listening to vinyl. I think there's room for both. You can't have everything, and I ain't got space to own everything. So I hope you enjoyed what I showed. If all I ever ask now is just leave a comment and I will get back to you. I know John Bellamy, I owe you a reply from a couple of days ago. A little bit busy, so I apologise for that. So whatever you get up to, VC, make sure you look after yourselves. Keep spinning. More importantly, keep on smiling.